Welcome back to Wealth Stackers Community Call. How you doing, Maurice? How you been?
I- I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm late. I'm I the only one? Oh my.
Yeah, I was actually about to just start recording because I didn't. Yeah, I'm getting used to this new time. I had something planned just in case nobody showed up, but glad you showed up. And I'll still speak to what I have planned, but would love to learn more about anything you have questions about or anything you got going on.
Just came to listen in and to see what's going on. So hit the record button and let's do it. I'll give you an
All
audience of
right.
one.
All right, awesome, awesome. All right, so basically today what I'm going to go over is, and I just cut myself shaving right before this this started, but what I'm going to go over today is this. Can't, oh no, that's not the right. They can't see. What I'm going to go over today is basically we have a drop in price today, right? Do you see a chart? See like
Yes,
colors?
I do.
All right. So today we had a drop in price, a pretty good drop in price in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's four things people should understand in these times, right? This is like a great time to be buying. Actually, most people do not bring in money when prices are falling. They bring them in when prices are rising, which is like not the right way to think about it, but this is just what happens. We see it in the data all the time. But one of the things we do notice that people have questions about is on days like today, if your portfolio was full Bitcoin and Ethereum before this fall happened, and you do have a loan against that crypto, right? That's your the collateral is your Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you have a loan. So let's say this gray part is the loan. On days like today, both the Bitcoin and Ethereum fall in price, and they could put you below your loan, and that would mean you get what's called liquidated, and the lender would try to pay off the loan with part of your assets. So what Stack tries to do is, and it does it, is it sells some of the Bitcoin and Ethereum to protect the loan, right? And what ends up happening is the amount of Bitcoin and Ethereum you have does go down, just like if the price fell. But what it does do is it keeps this extra amount of cash to buy back in versus if Stack didn't exist and you didn't have a loan, your portfolio would just go down, right? And that's your net worth falling, right? So if you just had Bitcoin and Ethereum and the price fell, let's say today it went from 110,000 to 50,000, then you would lose a lot of money. And most people, this is what happens. Most people do not take profits and they don't protect when prices are falling. So there's pros and cons to everything, right? One of the pros in doing stack is when the prices are falling, we're selling to protect that portfolio value you built and to keep it above the loan that you have in stack. The con to that is if the price falls really quickly and then comes right back up, we sold some of your assets to protect. But even that, you didn't really lose the money, right? You just didn't make as much, which is another way to look at it because if the price falls 50%, then the price has to grow 100% to get back to where it was. So by lessening the fall, you lessen how much you have to get back up to make a gain. So because crypto is so volatile, we have seen 70% market drops. And you want to protect against that, right? The worst case scenario is you need money and you don't have access to that money. So that's why we angle our product as protect that downside at all cost. And what we do in days like today is we'll sell all of your assets if we have to, but we buy them back within 15 days. Because in a bull run, it doesn't go from Bitcoin being 100,000 today to Bitcoin being $1 million tomorrow. That's not how it happens. Sure. What's your question, Maurice? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thanks. Um, let's explain what the colors are.
Okay.
I think you said the gray is the loan. I imagine the blue and the yellow, but
It's
I'm
Bitcoin
not
Ethereum.
really. Yeah. Let's
This is
just explain. You could please.
Yeah, sorry, no problem. This is Bitcoin, the color of Bitcoin, and this is the color of Ethereum. This is the color of USDC. I should have maybe had the logos, But the overall idea is you got Bitcoin, you got Ethereum, and this is your portfolio value, right? It's this makes up of Bitcoin and Ethereum. In days like today, when the prices fall, your portfolio value will fall very quickly because both those assets fell high at a high level. So in our platform, we start selling back to USDC when the prices are falling, so you don't go below this loan, and also you keep that portfolio value that you have been building up, right? Because what ends up happening is as you build a portfolio, you have more and more Bitcoin and Ethereum, but you also have more net worth and more stack value. So in days like today, when the market falls 5%, that could drop you 10% if you got Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? 5 and 5. So we are trying to protect against that happening. So this is where, like, and the fact that we use leverage, it even falls even faster. So we need to make sure we're keeping that net value of what you have above your loan. So let's say this is your Bitcoin and Ethereum and this is your loan. So your net worth is this, right? Whatever's above the loan. So if the price falls below this, your net worth pretty much falls, right? So we try to keep your net worth above where you would be if you weren't using our platform. So in days like today, if you have a stack wallet, you will see you have less assets. You have less Bitcoin and Ethereum. You have more dollars. And then we're gonna buy back in because the price is down. This is the time to be buying and bringing in money as well to buy more. But because we know most people don't take advantage of these pumps, what we end up doing is as the prices rise, we raise our protection point, right? So that's why days like today, our whole platform has been selling to protect the gains we help create in our platform. So this is where, like, I just wanted to kind of go over this because a lot of people ask about it and they're like, hey, it sold my Bitcoin. And I'm like, yes, but we kept your net worth and we're going to buy back in at the lower price because it did go down. It was 120 grand a couple weeks ago. Now it's 109. That's a $10,000 drop. And if you're leveraged, that is amplified in your portfolio. So we need to protect that gain when we make it and protect the loss when it's possible. So I don't know if you have any questions.
UDC?
Say it again.
UDC?
No,
That's another one of the terms you used. What is that?
there's BTC and USDC. So
USDC.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then dollars, US dollar coin. So when we move it from Bitcoin and Ethereum into USDC, we're putting it into a stable asset that won't fall in value, right? The dollar is steady at dollar value. So one USDC equals $1. But one Bitcoin can shift from 120,000 to 100,000 overnight. So if
Right.
you had a net worth of 20,000, we're going to sell to protect that net worth because what if you come back next week and you're like, all right, I need this 20,000 to do something, but now it's no longer there because Bitcoin and Ethereum just dropped, right? And that's
And what's the light blue color?
the light blue color is the USDC, is when we turn it
Got
back
it.
to
Okay,
dollars.
yeah, good.
And then sometimes
Okay.
you'll see all dollars, right? Because, like, for instance, today there were portfolios that had made so much gains that by the time we came to protect them, we sold all their Bitcoin and Ethereum because we don't know how far this price will drop. We could wake up tomorrow and it's at 90K. And we want to, there's people with like 30, $40,000 and more net worths. So why would we want that net worth to drop? And I'm talking about this because I had a client reach out and they were like, hey, I was using Stack to get more assets before the bull run. They emailed me last week, and I was like, yes. So here's the pro and con to what we do, and what would you want to do? So right now we have less in Bitcoin and Ethereum because prices are starting to fall. So we're selling to protect your net worth. If you wanted us to protect less, how much of your net worth are you willing to let it fall? Are you willing to let your net worth fall 10%, 20%, 50%? Because that's where we have to protect. Right now, we're protecting at 95%. So we're going to protect early. But if you want to if you wanted to give more room for prices to go up and down, you have to also accept that we won't start protecting till that point. So you can lose that much of your net worth. So if you chose to let it flow with the volatility of 50%, that means your net worth could drop 50% overnight. So most people wouldn't want that. If you ask, hey, how much of your net worth are you willing to lose overnight? Nobody's gonna say 50%, right? So you got to kind of think about it like that. And I know some people think about Bitcoin as just this asset that you're gonna hold forever and never do anything with it. And I don't see it that way. I see Bitcoin as an asset to grow my net worth and to use in my life, not just to see I have Bitcoin and I love the fact that I have Bitcoin, but I'm never going to use it. I always tell people for that, buy art, because if you're going to have this thing that you just look at and admire and you're never going to use it for financial gain or a vacation or something like that, I don't want to use Bitcoin like that. I want to use Bitcoin, Ethereum. I want to use assets to help me live my life in the way I want to live it. So by buying these assets, I want my net worth to grow and then I can live off that net worth. I don't just want to own Bitcoin and Ethereum and never use it, which is what a lot of people say. And I just don't agree with that at all. And I don't know how. I guess once you reach a certain level of wealth, sure, right? If I'm so wealthy that I could put money somewhere and never need it ever in my whole life, that's an awesome place to be, but I'm not that wealthy. And I don't know if I ever will be that wealthy. But that's the way you'll hear. If you study Bitcoin, there's people called Bitcoin maximalists. And what they believe is buy Bitcoin, never sell it. That's what they say. And I'm like, okay, so you got $25 million of Bitcoin. You still not going to sell it? No, I'll never sell my Bitcoin. Yeah, but what if you lost your job? And now, no, I'll figure out other ways. Maybe I'll borrow off of it, right? That's a lot of what I came up with this platform about. And I say, okay, so when you go to borrow off of your Bitcoin, how are you going to do it? Thinking. I'll give it to a bank and then the bank will lend me money. That's where you're giving up access to your Bitcoin. If that bank wants to, they could say, I'm keeping your Bitcoin. This has happened in the past with gold. Many, many decades ago, the government set up a law that confiscated gold. And if you had gold in a bank, they kept it. And that could happen again. So the way I view it is I'd rather have my Bitcoin in a smart contract that the government can't stop versus and borrow off of it off that versus giving it to someone many years from now and then hope they give it back. I have helped people borrow off of their native Bitcoin. So when you go on Coinbase and you buy Bitcoin, I do this as well. I'm on both sides. I'm not a maximalist on anything. I don't know what's going to happen. I just do believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to grow in value a lot. Like, and I'm talking about 100x before I die. So I want to own as much of it as possible. And just like rich people do with real estate, I'm going to borrow more money to own more of it. And then I'm going to borrow off of it to live my life. I just made a video. I don't know if you saw it, Maurice, but I just borrowed off my Bitcoin and Ethereum to buy a car cash because I bought Bitcoin a long time ago. It grew in value. So I basically got my car for free. Right. And now I'll pay myself back, but I don't have to. But that just came because I bought Bitcoin earlier than most people. And we're still very early. There's many people that have said, and you can look it up and make your own decision. But many people have said if Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, it's going to $1 million. And there's never been an asset in history that has gone to $2 trillion and then went to zero. So that means we're more likely to go to $1 million a coin than we are to zero. And again, there's probabilities. It could go to zero, it can go to $1 billion. Nobody really knows. You just have to decide what you believe is going to happen and try to get in front of it. So when I first started studying it, Bitcoin was like $6,000 And I didn't buy it till Bitcoin was like $20,000. And then it fell, and then it came back. And then I really got serious about it. And now I'm fast forwarding and saying, okay, what am I going to do with this Bitcoin? I don't want to just watch it like art. I want to be able to get more of it, and I want to borrow off of it. That's where I learned about smart contracts and apps like Aave, where I can borrow off of it. The only problem is liquidations. And that's where liquidation means if the price falls, they'll take some of your Bitcoin to pay off the loan or Ethereum. So that's where I decided to build an app to stop that. And that's where now, to stop those liquidations, you got to sell some assets to protect it. And what we also do is we pay down some of the loan. Whenever we protect, we also pay off some of the loan. So I won't go too much more into that exact thing, but if you got any questions, ask.
I have two.
Yeah, go ahead.
So two questions. First is, what's the advantage of the volatility?
Great,
You know,
great
you say
question.
5%, right? Let's say it's at 20%. 50, I believe, is too large. But let's say at 20% volatility. Yeah.
Advantage is when prices dip, we won't sell the asset, right? So we'll sell the asset further down in price drop. So if you said, I'd rather keep the asset until it falls and my net worth drops 20%. So now what that means is we can allow some more wiggle room between Bitcoin and Ethereum before we start selling the asset to protect the loan. The only issue is at the end of the bear market, with the bull run is a bear market, and it usually goes from very high to very low, and nobody knows when that's going to happen. So what most people, especially first timers that buy into the pump, they don't sell. And then the price falls on them. So for instance, I'll give you examples from the last bull run, which was 4 years ago. I had a friend. I told her about Bitcoin when it was $12,000, and it started to rise. And at that point, I was still trying to understand it. And really quickly, it went from 12 to 20,000. And she was like, man, you did tell me about it at 12,000. And I was like, look, I was looking at it and I didn't even buy it. So I'm starting to buy it. Then I'm starting to buy more and more of it. She didn't buy until it was $55,000. Right? So I was like, man, if you would have listened to me, you would have made 3 times more money. Because she actually bought 2 Bitcoin at $55,000 because she had real estate money she was about to invest with real estate. So by waiting, she lost a 3x on that money, right? She could have tripled her money. Not a sad story though. The price fell. So remember, I told you she bought 2 Bitcoin, about $110,000 worth of Bitcoin. The price fell back down to 20 grand, but she held it, right? She didn't sell it, even though that hurts, right? You think about, she had 110,000 go down to $40,000. That's a $70,000 net worth drop, right? But she held. And now Bitcoin is 109,000. So she has 210,000 and she paid 110. So she doubled her money over 4 years. If she would have sold at 20,000, she would have lost $70,000. She held it for 4 years. And now, literally, I just helping her yesterday. She's borrowing off of her property. She's gonna borrow off that to buy a property in Colombia. So again, if she would have had this platform, if the platform would have existed when she was doing that, we would have protected that at maybe 95,000 instead of letting it fall all the way to 40,000. She would have had 50 more thousand to buy back in at 20,000, right? But nobody knows this in the beginning. And even they'll tell you it takes 3 bull runs to get rich. The first one, you're a deer in the headlights. You're just watching it like, oh my God, this is insane. And you don't act. The second one, you learn how to act, but you still don't act enough to make millions of dollars because you don't have that much. But the third one, because all that time, you've been dollar cost averaging for all those years. By the time the third one comes around, you really make a lot of money because not only do you know to keep buying at the lows, you know how to act when the time comes to really make the money. Because if you have a wallet that shows $10,000 today, $1,000,000 tomorrow, and then $10,000 the next day, did you ever really make that $1,000,000? Right? No, because you saw the price go up, but it came back down, and that's what happens to all of us. I basically 10x my portfolio, and then I watched it fall back down, but it fell less because I had loans against it, and I had to protect those loans, and that's when I decided to build this platform because I was like, this actually worked for me. I would have had a lot less portfolio like my friends that didn't borrow against their shit like I did, right? I borrowed against my portfolio as it was going up to live, to invest in other things. And then as it was falling, I had to protect that. So I took the profit. And if I wouldn't have, it would have fell all the way back down, right? So this is where all of this comes from my experience of watching. Because in the beginning, it happened like in a short run. I saw it pump and I saw it fall back down. From like one day to the next, I've told this story many times, but I don't know if you've heard it. This is what I did. I borrowed 25,000 from my no, I actually took 25,000 out of my 401k. I brought that into Aave. I borrowed 6,000. I put that into another coin called Polygon Matic. Within weeks, that $6,000 10x'd. So I turned that 6 into $60,000. Had the original 25, which was also growing at that point, plus the 60. So I brought the 60 in, and I had maybe 90, 100, I forget exact. And I had this $6,000 loan, which is nothing, right? I could have just paid back the loan. But what did I do? I borrowed more. And then I bought more assets. And then I put them in. And I kept doing that. But then overnight, one night, I woke up and my portfolio was down and my loan was down. And that's when I learned, oh, they liquidated me while I was sleeping. They basically took part of my loan and paid off part of my collateral and paid off my loan. But because it's blockchain and I could see everything that happened, I realized I could have stopped that. I could have made it so that didn't happen. So I started doing it by hand. Anytime I would go to sleep, I would sell enough assets so I couldn't get liquidated while I slept. Then I wake up, buy them back. And then I would do this every day, every day, every day for years, actually. And then I said, you know what? I started teaching about it and I would teach people how to do it. People would pay me to coach them, all kind of different things. But it was so hard that I was like, you know what? I need to just build an AI that just do it for people. So that's how I built Stack. But the overall idea, I've been doing this for years by hand, seeing millions, tens, actually over $10 million now of this being done. So now, days like today, what I really learn is we're possibly, and again, nobody knows that, that's why you got a dollar cost average and bring in money as often as possible. But many, many, many people believe we're heading into probably the biggest bull run in history. Why? Yeah, what's your question? You're on mute.
You've given a lot, as you always do. Two things. First, let's define what a bull run is
Okay.
and like really like unpack bull runs. I don't, it's just a word to me. I don't have any sense of what that means.
Thank you.
And
Thank
then
you
the
for.
other part, flip side of this, right,
Mhm.
is explain the process of cashing out. So like, how is it just simply you say, hey, you want to withdraw X dollar amount and it shows up into your
Yep.
other account in so
Yep.
many days, or is it something much more intense? Um,
Yep.
and also in part and within that, what's the timeline? How much time does it require to make that transfer of funds happen?
So, okay, I'll start with the cash out because it's the easiest. It's pretty instant. Like, so what ends up happening is you just decide to pay off your loan and stay with whatever's left over. So let's say you had $10,000 with a $5,000 loan. and and then the bull run happens. And now that 10,000 turns into 20,000 and you have a $5,000 loan. You say, okay, take 5 of the 20, pay off the 5K loan and leave me with the 15. It lands in your wallet in 1 second. Then you need to send it back to your bank account, which depends on if you're using Coinbase or our app. We have a partner that sends it right back to your bank account. Our partner, it happens in 1 day, but it's based on bank times. So if you did it today, right now, it won't come into your bank account until tomorrow morning. On Coinbase, it's similar, but it depends on the options you pick. On Coinbase, you can pick next day, same day, or like instant, or 1 to 3 days. But 1 to 3 days still sends it the next day, similar like mine. But sometimes they block it though. So because Coinbase is basically a bank now, sometimes it triggers a higher level of security where they need you to answer questions. I haven't had that happen on my platform yet. I'm sure it could happen to me too, because Coinbase is just such a large organization that it happens to them a lot more. So I've seen people try to cash out and Coinbase not allow them to. So I had multiple stories. I have one guy who investing years ago had 250,000 he was trying to take out of Coinbase, and Coinbase was like, we need more information from you to pull out that 250,000. So took a couple days and he's like, what's the information? Going back and forth. They were like, okay, we need your tax returns for 2019, 20, and 21. And he was like, I haven't done my taxes for 20 and 20 and 21. They were like, yeah, once you do them, we'll give you your money. So he was like, because they wanted proof of funds and how he made this money and all that stuff. So that's the risk with Coinbase. Haven't seen that happen with mine. We use a company called Bridge.xyz. They got bought by Stripe, but it's possible. Also, if you're traveling, I've seen this happen too, which you're in this scenario. If you're a US based customer and they see you outside of the United States and you're trying to pull out money, they could think that you're being hacked. So they could block your account and ask you to make sure that, I don't know if this has happened to you with Robinhood. You could do this with Robinhood too. Same thing. You send it back to Robinhood, send it back to your bank account.
Right.
So I don't know if you've ever done
No, I
that.
haven't had any issues yet, but that's also because I use a VPN. I use Express, so I don't show that I'm ever outside of US.
So that's a good way. That's a good way to get around it. But basically, it's 1 day. When you borrow, it's instant.
Okay.
It happens if you cash out, it's instant. It lands in your wallet instantly. Then you got to send it back to your institution through whatever system you have. That takes about a business day or less than a business day.
Okay.
So if you did it on Friday,
Okay.
it's not going to come till Monday. But now a lot more people are starting to accept USDC as dollars. So you don't need to send it back to your bank account all the time to use it. You can buy things with it without sending it back to your bank account. So that's
Is there some type of card available or
yeah,
some type of,
there's like
debit
debit
number?
cards. There's debit cards where you
Yeah.
swipe and the money comes out of that wallet.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
So
Bull
that's
run.
that part. Bull run. So a bull run, we're living in this time of speculation. It's where the economies has boom and bust, right? So I'll take you as far back as I remember it. Do you remember the dot-com boom? Right? So that was a bull run where companies that came out that said they were dot-com and internet companies, people invested in them. And it got so frenzied that a bull run was created, and then a top happened where it got too crazy and the values went too high, and then a bunch of people sold, and then the price falls, and that's a bear market. So a bull means going up, and a bear means it's down, and it stays down for a while. So what ends up happening is there's always a bull run where it gets frenzied, and a lot of people buy, and the prices get crazy, and then people start selling, and it comes back down. It's like I tell people it's like an ocean. It's always going to go up and down. Sometimes the waves are going to be higher than other times, but it's always going to come back down. It doesn't just go up forever. Even a tsunami doesn't just go up forever. It eventually comes down. And that's just the nature of finance and the cycles. So there will be a bull run, and it's already started with Bitcoin and Ethereum. You are coming to it where it's already started because, like I said, Bitcoin was 20,000. Now it's 100. So it's already gone up. But now institutions, countries, companies are buying billions of dollars of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So nobody knows if bull runs will be the same anymore with this asset, because now they're taking this asset and they're putting it on their books, and no company wants to show a loss, and they don't lose unless they sell the asset. So let's say today I was a company and I bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin. It's worth 100,000, let's just say. So I bought 10 Bitcoin. I put it on my balance sheet as a treasury asset. Now Bitcoin goes down to 50K. I'm not going to want to sell it and look like I took a loss, because then that looks like my company lost money. So they'll just leave it there to the next bull run, like my friend did, and wait to the next bull run. And now the value has grown and they can decide to either sell it there or just keep going, because now it makes their company look more valuable. It's just like a company that owns its own real estate, right? If you own your own real estate, you got more value, right? Because it's like, oh, you own an asset that's worth X amount of money. That's what people are doing now with Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're putting that into their company and saying, hey, we own this asset worth millions of dollars, billions of dollars right now. So our company is worth a lot because we have this. And if it goes down, our company could be worth less, yes. But truthfully, if you hold it, nobody has ever lost money holding Bitcoin for 4 years. That's another thing. Because of the bull markets, they're usually 4-year cycles for Bitcoin. And the reason for that is it's pretty crazy. And you can Google all this stuff, ChatGPT it. In the code of Bitcoin, they created these 4-year cycles because they were breaking it down from other finance things where there's bull and bear markets. So they knew this was going to be a thing. And guess where they timed it with? The elections of the United States. So every new president, or every 4 years, whether there's a new president or they're coming back, there's a change in the Bitcoin code. And what they do is freaking genius. So every day right now for 4 years, a certain amount of Bitcoin comes out every day. I forget. I think it's about, I forget how many come out every day right now. After 4 years, they halve how much comes out every day. It's called the halvening. What that means is there's less available for people to buy. So that means they become more valuable, right? Because if right now, let's say there's 10 that come out every day, so people can buy them, and they're worth 100,000. But then in 4 years, only 5 come out every day. So now more people got a bid on buying those 5. So it's going to be worth more. That's why the price keeps going up and up and up, because built into the code, there's only a certain amount that will ever be printed, and less of them come out every 4 years. This is going to go on for 100 years until the last Bitcoin is printed. And that's why they say this is such a great asset to buy right now, because we're early. Even though a lot of them have been printed and people are buying billions of dollars of them, we still got 100 years of them being printed. But less and less of them will come out. So that's what a bull market means. It means we're on the way up. And a bear market means we're on a down, or we're down and we're waiting for the bull run to start again. So the problem is thinking you can time that and know when the bull and bear markets are. Nobody I've ever known has been able to. The only people I think know how to do it are the people who create them. They got the billions of dollars that say, all right, sell it all right now. And the prices start falling. And
That
that's
creates the bear market.
Yep.
How long has a bear market lasted
They average
time
about three,
wise?
3 years, 3 years, because
Okay.
what happens is on the fourth year, they start back up because of halvening. So right now we're in the fourth year and it's on its way up, right? So it could go, this could go into 2026 though, right? Like it can go all the way deep into 2026 where it keeps going up. And that's what a lot of people believe is going to happen. They believe because now not only are people, but like I said, countries, corporations, states are buying this. So now everybody's going to be fighting for the same amount of Bitcoin and it might go really crazy. And then, of course, it's going to have a top. And this is where, again, the app I'm building is to make sure if you're in it at the top, you're not left. When they pull the chairs out from the deck, you're not the one at the end like, oh man, I should have sold when it was $189,000. I really should have sold some because my portfolio was really good at that point. Now it's 70,000 and I gotta wait 3 years before it goes back up that high. But I need money right now. I could have really bought a house with that money, right? Or whatever I wanted to do for the next 3 years. And this is where it's a little more dangerous because we're heading into this AI time where there could be a point where there's not as many jobs. And if you can make a lot of money right now, you want to keep it. Because if in the next 3 years your job goes away or you got to build a new kind of business because now AI kind of changed your whole landscape, you're going to want to keep that net worth. And you're going to want to build as much of it as you can while we have this opportunity because this is not happening for another 4 years, right? So this is where it's like all kind of connected. So this is why I like I make content every day around this stuff, but what I tell people is you can't really time it. Figure out a number and bring in that number every month and let it grow your net worth until you need it. And hopefully you don't need it. But if you do need it, at least you got it. Versus a lot of people don't have it. They got their money sitting in cash, which is your net worth, but that net worth is dropping in value based on the dollar and wherever you live versus having it is something that's growing, outpacing the inflation of wherever you live. Because America has one of the lowest inflation rates, and Bitcoin and Ethereum outpaces that. Right? It grows about 30-50% a year right now. Go ahead. What's your question?
Trying to get this unmuted here. Let's talk more so in what you're just talking about in terms of timing. Curious to know what's the turnaround between investment and how soon you can take something out versus how soon you're getting a loan versus, do I need to hold on to all this for like 5 years before I can even really begin using any of it? How long did you wait? Because I know because you've been doing this for quite some time, and to finally then purchase a car is a big deal. And I did read the post.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Thank
But
you.
it calls to mention, like how soon,
Yeah.
what can I expect?
So you can borrow right away. This is why in the beginning I started out by telling people, look, do this every month with your bills. So that's how I was able to build up over years. Every time I spent money, I brought that money in, bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and borrowed to spend. So now every month I'm building for years. And then as it's growing, I'm growing more money, right? So yes, it took years to grow a portfolio, but I'll give you examples for that happened this year. Someone brought in money on I think it was like April. She brought in $3,000 and then borrowed seven. So she created a $10,000 wallet, right? So she had 3,000 net equity with a $7,000 loan, right? Within a few months, I forget exactly, maybe 3-4 months. Again, but we can't always bet on this because we are in a bull run, right? She basically, her collateral grew from, actually her collateral didn't grow in value, but what ended up happening is it flipped because of the volatility. Every time the price pumped, we took that profit and we paid off the loan. So what ended up happening is her net value was 7,000 and her loan was 3 after a few months. So she had a $7,000 net value where she could have took money out if she wanted, but she wants to do it for the long run. So what she did instead was she took the 7,000 net equity and she borrowed more to invest more. So she was able to borrow another 10,000, creating a $20,000 wallet now. And all she brought in was 4 months ago. There's another story that's similar, another zero attached, but they took a different route at the end. Very similar. The guy brought in 30,000, borrowed 70,000. Pretty fucking crazy how it all worked out. Same thing. His net worth went up. He did it a little bit before her. So his net worth went up to like 75,000, right? So now he has a net worth of 75, a $30,000 loan, instead of having the same exact scenario happen. They brought money in within weeks, similar amounts. So the guy comes back similar, maybe a few weeks after her, and he's like, okay, what can I do here? So I said, look, you can borrow 150,000 to invest more. He was like, I really want to invest in a restaurant though. So I was like, okay, you can borrow 25K to invest in the restaurant. We did it together. He borrowed the 25K, sent it back he invested in the restaurant, but he still was able to borrow another 60,000 to invest more in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this took 4 months, but it was a bull 4 months where the price went up. So right now the prices are coming down. So if you brought money in 2 weeks ago, your value would have been coming down because we're buying as the prices are falling. But this is the time to buy, and then when the prices come up, that's when. So if you look back in April, the prices were falling heavy. So these people brought in money at that time when most people don't. Most people bring in money at the top. That's partly why we dollar cost average. Because when you bring it at the top, if you put all the money in that day, it's going to drop. If you're buying slowly as the prices fall, you end up with more assets. So to answer your question, instant.
Is there a buy at the low only type format?
Not really.
Because you never know when it's going to go low. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't really know that. That's partly why we tell people you got to just bring in money every month, because you don't know what month is the low. And you rather have been buying in that month than think, oh, I think it's going to go lower. Because I've had that too. I have conversations all the time with customers that are like, you know what? And I'll give you an example. When I first launched the app, right? I went to Puerto Rico to meet, because in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of crypto people, right? So I met with this guy, and Bitcoin at that moment was like 30,000, right? So I was showing him the product, and he's like, I'm going to use it, but I'm going to wait till Bitcoin goes back to 20,000. So I was like, all right, how do you know it's going back to 20,000? Because he was a trader. This guy's like beautiful mind type guy, like millionaire. I was like, you know more than me. So how do you know? He's showing me the charts. This is why I think boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, oh, wow. All right. So I'm in Puerto Rico for a few more days. Bitcoin goes to like $45,000 while I'm still in Puerto Rico. So he's like, let's meet again. So I was like, all right. So we meet. He's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I fucked up. Like, I don't know if it's going back to 20 now. And I was like, I don't know either. You know more than me. So he's like, all right, I just want to know how it works. So he puts in like $1,000 in front of me. Puts 1,000, borrows 4. Back then you could borrow more too. So I'm like, look, there you go. You know how to do it now. When Bitcoin hits 20,000, just put more in. I'm getting on the plane. The prices are still going up. It never went back to 20,000 this is almost 3 years ago now. Never touched 20,000 again. If he would have waited, he would have never did. But while I'm flying in the plane, I'm on the internet and I see transactions happening on the platform. The guy brought in $1 million. But if he would have did it a few days earlier, he would have made so much more. But again, everybody thinks, no matter, now I deal with people at every level, multimillionaire, fucking crazy amounts of money, very poor. Everybody thinks they know. and nobody knows. I haven't
Of
found one
course, it's
person that
natural.
knows. And that's why I tell people, look, I just seen too much. I just dollar cost average. I don't believe I know anything. I don't know when the top is. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm just always planning for downside. And I'm always dollar cost averaging every single day. I have thousands and thousands of dollars in being invested every single day. And if it drops, it will sell all my Bitcoin and Ethereum if it has to. Because I know that means I'm protecting some of that wealth I just built. Any other questions? I know it's partly I know, and thank you for asking, because some people just sit and not ask and just not know. Oh, Annie was here. I didn't realize Annie was here. Yeah, so
Totally.
I
No,
think she's back.
appreciate it. No, the information and getting the resource because it's, I think you know these things and so you speak them with confidence. And when it comes to, well, I don't actually know what the things you're talking about actually have the significance of the meaning behind them. So
Please,
yeah,
please
totally.
keep doing that. Please keep doing that. Because it's been so long that I forget now when I'm using these. I'm like a finance bro now. But I wasn't 5 years ago. I
Of
was
course not.
probably way worse than anything you know right now. I didn't know anything. I just knew there was something here that I had to pay attention to. And to be honest, I tell people this all the time. I was told about Bitcoin when it was like 30 cents, but I didn't pay attention.
Right,
Then I was told
right.
about it again when it was like 50 cents. I didn't pay attention. 3,000, didn't pay attention. 6,000, didn't pay attention. It took till it was 20,000 till I really started paying attention. And
Well, for me, it started off with someone asked, how do you want to get paid? And I said, they'll pay me in Bitcoin. And I didn't know what that meant, but just the option of being paid in Bitcoin, something I should do. And so I have some, but I'm one of those that just start off the original call. Nah, my head is in the sand. Let's let it do what it do. Whatever it does, it does. I'm not paying attention to it. I don't want to sell it. I'm just gonna go with it.
yeah,
Um,
art for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think one of the things that happens with that is you got lucky in that moment when you got it and you kept it. That was smart. Most people would have sold it by now. But going forward, you got to think, what if this gets to $1 million? What am I
Well,
gonna
let's slow down here because that's actually my problem. I don't know how to sell it. I don't know where it's at. I mean,
you
like
don't
a
know where it
lot
is?
of that,
You
I
don't
I
know.
do and I don't. Like I've forgotten about it. It was one of those things like stock.
So,
I
but
have to go
it's
back
like
and look it up.
do you think it's in a Coinbase or it's in a wallet somewhere?
No idea.
Yeah, I would highly suggest you go look that up because what I was about to say is most people end up buying it on Coinbase, right? That's the most popular United States exchange. So they'll buy it on Coinbase and they look up and it's a lot of money. And then they're like, okay, I want to use it now. So there's only really two options right now. There is you either sell it and send the money back to your bank account, but now you owe taxes, or you borrow off of it by giving it to somebody, some company. You got to trust that they're going to give it back. I don't trust that personally. I've helped people do it, but I've told them, look, I wouldn't do this myself. You want to do it, so I'm giving you the one I would choose, but I wouldn't even choose that one. So personally, that's why going forward, whenever I buy it in a way that I can borrow off of it whenever I want in my own custody. That's why I built it this because when I took that 25,000 out of my 401k, I put it into a system that I could do this with. And that's why I was able to grow my wealth so quick because I was able to control it. Nobody could tell me nothing. And of course I got liquidated, but I still had the power to do whatever I wanted. I didn't have some firm telling me, no, you can't do that. Whatever. I could do whatever I want with my money, which is powerful, right? So versus when you got Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. I have just Bitcoin too. I'm building a reserve just of Bitcoin as well. But I have more of my net worth in stuff I can do stuff with than just stuff that who knows if I'll ever sell it. Maybe I'll give it to my kids one day, but I can't live my life off that. Right.
Right, right,
So that's
exactly.
why I want to build something I can live my life off of. And that's why this whole thing is based on building a portfolio that you can borrow off of to live. And the problem is when you give your Bitcoin to another firm, there's a payment every month you got to make.
Okay.
And if you don't make it, guess what happens, right?
Right.
So with this, there's no monthly payment. As long as your collateral is higher than your loan, and then what we do is every time the price pumps, we pay down some of the loan, right? So it just keeps doing that. And that was the thing I was showing in the beginning, because days like today are where we do that, right? We take some of that before it falls, we sell it, and we pay down some of the loan, keeping your net worth intact, you know? So yeah, I mean, I know it's a lot, and definitely ask questions in the community. I hope you took advantage of the book. I'm not sure if you did, but the book, we got the free book that I got donated for, I think it's about 200 people. So I don't know how many have been bought, but there's that opportunity. But if you have any questions about anything, even outside of just the app, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or anything else, ask in the community. I want more questions, because this is like probably one of the craziest times in history. Like, we've never ever been in a position where we could front run countries, banks, and the biggest corporations in the world. Meaning we can buy it before they all want to start buying it crazy.
Right. 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 Right.
And that
Right.
and when that happens, you could wait till that happens, but it's already started. Like, if you look it up,
Right.
you'll see Company A bought $3 billion of Bitcoin. Company B bought $10 billion of Ethereum. Country A just bought. It's starting to become like woo, woo. And maybe I need to start showing that more, but it's already started. Nobody thought this would happen already. People thought this would happen the next bull run, but
Right.
it's happening now.
Well, you know, we talked about that in a previous call about, the Central American countries buying and choosing it. And, for those that have had success, what that looks like, because I'm sure Liechtenstein and some of the other more richer places are really doing,
Yeah. And again, all investing in
yeah,
is you deciding you think more people are going to want this asset. So houses, right? Like, if you were able to buy Manhattan real estate and you were like, I think a lot of people are going to want to do this in the 1700s, you would be a billionaire, right? If you bought Apple stock in the 80s because you're like, yeah, I think Apple's going to do very well, you would be a millionaire. Amazon. This is the one version of that I feel like I caught. But now there's a way to borrow money to buy more of it. That is insane to me.
right, right.
Never been possible, especially for people.
And what are your taxes like? Like,
So
what are
tax,
your taxes like? And when you file your regular taxes,
you
the
gotta
1040 or whatever.
you gotta put the profits that you made. So basically, if you say, hey, this wallet made $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, the government wants their cut. And if you hold it for longer than 1 year, you pay 20%. If you hold it for less than 20 and then 1 year, you pay 40% tax. It's just like income, like if you work the job.
Right,
So
right.
if you make $50,000 in 1 year with Bitcoin, it's like you made $50,000 from a job, right? So
Okay.
there's ways.
Even though with your loan, even with the loan, that's not counted into that.
No, because the loan, you could pay down the loan and whatever you have. Again, I don't like talking about taxes because taxes are different in every case. You can
Yeah,
have,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
have
Not
all
just in
kinds of
general.
things. But the general idea is when you buy it, there's a price. And when you sell it,
Right.
there's a different price.
It's a
And based
price.
on that, you
Right.
either made or lost. But you could, the difference with Bitcoin and Ethereum is you could do what's called tax loss harvesting, which means if you bought it at 100 and it falls to 50 and you sell it at 50, you lost $50,000.
Right.
And then if
Right.
it goes back up, you still have that $50,000 deduction for the loss. Right. So if you made 100, you really made 50 because you had the 50K loss. So you could do
Right.
there's all kind of things you can do. And the more savvy you get playing around with it, you will do those things. But I've been looking up other things and I'm going further and further down the rabbit hole of putting this inside of corporations. So for instance, you could set up a C Corp, and a C Corp only pays 21% tax on short or long-term gains. So if you wrap this in a C corp, you just pay 20% tax instead of 40.
Right, right,
There's all kind of different things that I'm looking into, and I'm gonna do stuff, and I'm gonna show people what I did. But I have a complicated setup. I have an S corp, C corp. I have all kind of corporations because I do business in different ways. I got a nonprofit. I do crazy things, but I'm going to show people what I did, and then they can go on ChatGPT
right,
and have the conversation based on their
right,
specific situation and figure out what makes the most sense for them.
right.
But yeah, I mean, I tell people, look, we're gonna try to make you money, so you're gonna owe tax.
Yeah, of course. It's no getting around it. But mitigation is always something I'm going to want to talk about
Yeah,
always, because
100%.
the mitigation aspect is a remarkable when you think of if you're in the know, and that's the business I work in.
And that's where like there's a huge opportunity there. Um, and I tell my community, look, I can't really talk about taxes, but if you are into taxes and you can come with stuff, like I have people who are doing amazing stuff with their tax, they bring me on their calls with their tax accountant and stuff, and I see and I'm like, wow, this is cool. You should come and tell the community about this. I don't want because I might say it all wrong and then I'm
Yeah,
liable.
of course. And different states. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
No, no,
different
totally.
countries. I got people all over the world using this. So it's like, I don't know what the laws are in your country. But, and also based on individuals, like you can have multiple corporations. There's all kind of stuff you can do to lower your taxes, right? So, I think the goal though is one of the biggest things I tell people this all the time is I've worked with a lot of people at this point with this product. And what I see is the richest people care the least about taxes. I don't know what
Oh,
it is, but they don't worry about that shit. They just make as much money as they can. They worry about the taxes later. And
right,
I've
right,
really
right.
tried to adopt that. But yeah,
I'm on a low battery and I may drop, but you
well, it's
mentioned
fine. I'm about to end
something.
this anyway. Thank you,
You
Mo.
might, but hold on. Wait, you mentioned about an S corp. What do you use your S corp for?
So I had an agency. I have an agency where we do websites, animation. I've had it for over a decade. So I have it, and I've done client work out of there for decades, a decade. So I had never closed it. But now, when you bring money to an S corp, you don't pay self-employment tax. So as
Right.
the owner of an S corp, I get passed through. So whatever the S corp
Gotcha.
makes from profit, I get it's my tax, but I don't gotta pay self-employment tax
Right. Right.
like that. So I pay myself through the S corp instead of paying myself as an employee of Stack, and then I gotta pay more tax.
Right. And because right now I'm using it as an LLC, but as a solopreneur on the LLC, you're paying the self-employment tax.
But you could change an LLC to S corp status. I think it's only
That's
one.
why I'm asking, what are you using? Why are you using the S corp? Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the root of the question.
So when you reach a certain level, it makes sense to do it. I heard the self-employment tax difference doesn't make sense. This is a long time ago though, because I set this up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a long time ago. I think they said about 50,000,
Okay.
50
That's
to
not,
a 100,000. If you make more than
that
100,000,
makes sense.
brainer
Yeah,
to change.
exactly. Exactly. That makes, yeah, exactly. I'm at the same number at 100%. At 100,000, I know the LLC it's just not, sustainable, but I
Yeah.
don't know what to go to.
And this is where I tell people, talk to ChatGPT like it's a person and ask it. So I know his battery just died, and thank you anyone who's watched this, whenever you've watched it. And if you're part of the community, thank you for being part of the community. If you're a Stack user, thank you for being a Stack user. If you want to join the community or become a Stack user, there's links below. And I look forward to next week's call. Have a good rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this.